Coming up on UCF Nightly News, see how some students are coping 1 year after the Parkland shooting.
A new cyber innovation lab is at UCF. Find out how this lab will benefit UCF's engineering students.
In sports, UCF baseball is back and looking for a bounce-back season.
Nightly News starts now.
Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Tanesha Bridenback.
And I'm Erin Harris. Today is Friday, February 15th, 2019.
Former UCF Board of Trustees Chairman Marcos Marchena resigned from the board effective immediately. Marchena sent a formal resignation letter to the Florida Board of Governors on Thursday. Marchena says he intended to continue to serve on the board, but noticed he was limiting his participation and input. Marchena stepped down as chairman last week. Board member Robert Garvey took over as the new chairman. The Board of Trustees declined to comment whether Marchena's resignation is related to the investigation of the misuse of school funds. The investigation into the misuse of school funds is still ongoing.
Nightly News has been following the investigation since its start in September 2018.
Nightly News reporter Chris Tran has a recap on what's happened so far. Chris?
Thanks, Tanesha and Erin. An investigation report from a law firm hired by UCF says an audit found Trevor Colburn Hall was built with inappropriate funds. $38 million of educational and general expense funds was used to construct and furnish the building. Board of Governors regulations say ENG funds can't be used for new construction. A few UCF leaders resigned and 4 employees were fired after the investigation. Former UCF William Merck resigned last semester in connection to the misuse of funds. In January, President Dale Whitaker fired 4 administrators after the investigation. In a meeting, BOT members voted to revoke performance bonuses from President Whitaker and Merck. As we mentioned earlier, former BOT Chairman Marcos Marchena stepped down as chair and then resigned from the board completely. Last week, the Florida House Ethics Committee subpoenaed President Whitaker, Merck, Marchena, and former President John C. Hitt. They also subpoenaed 12 other employees. The BOG ordered UCF to continue their investigation. Those subpoenas are set to give their testimony in the next few weeks in front of the Florida House Ethics Committee. We'll be sure to keep you updated as the Florida Board of Governors investigation continues. Now back to the desk with Tanesha and Erin.
The city of Orlando and UCF are joining the world in remembering the 1-year anniversary of Marjory Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland, Florida. The shooting took the lives of 17 students and educators. Nightly News reporter Jeremy Brenner has more on UCF's connection to this national tragedy.
The city of Orlando has continued supporting Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, even a year after the deadly shooting took place. Orlando community members say they know this pain all too well. It's similar to the pain it faced following the 2016 Pulse shooting. Mayor Buddy Dyer says that Orlando now has a responsibility for communities like Parkland that have been the subject of attacks.
Fortunately, there's a kindred spirit among us. Nobody else wants to join that club, but supporting those that do is part of our mission.
Several people came downtown to the Pulse Memorial to pay their respects to the victims of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas shooting, and the community at UCF did the same. Dozens of students gathered on Memory Mall Thursday evening to mourn the loss of the 17. One of those in attendance was Robert Schentrup, who has been an advocate for the eradication of gun violence. Schentrup lost his sister Carmen in the shooting.
What came out of it was action, and every single day I wake up and I honor my sister with my action.
In the fall, UCF became home to 70 freshmen who are survivors of the shooting. Kyra Parrow is one of those survivors.
Community like Orlando and UCF means a lot to me, actually. It's one of the reasons why I picked to move to Orlando after I graduated. Not only do you have the survivors of Pulse here, who are very welcoming and supporting and understanding, there's a big Douglas community here.
Even with Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School 196 miles away from UCF's campus, the love and support for the 17 victims who died a year ago was here today. In Orlando, Jeremy Brenner, UCF Nightly News.
Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School paid their respects to those who passed by holding a day of service yesterday. A moment of silence was also held at 10:17 a.m. out of respect to the 17 victims.
Victims' families and survivors of the Pulse nightclub shooting are reacting to new information. A review by the state attorney details the gunfire exchange between law enforcement and the shooter on the night of June 12, 2016. Nightly News reporter Dylan Lyons was outside one of the locations where gunfire was exchanged.
Yeah, that's right, Tanesha and Erin, and I'm here outside the Pulse Memorial on the Orange Ave side, where one of 5 engagements took place between the Pulse gunmen and law enforcement officers.
Wednesday marked the end of another chapter in the Pulse nightclub shooting investigation. State Attorney Aramis Ayala of the 9th Judicial Circuit announced the 14 officers who responded to the nightclub on June 12, 2016 were cleared of any wrongdoing, based on her office's investigation.
After a review of shots fired by law enforcement officers on June 12, 2016 at the Pulse nightclub, all officers have been cleared of any wrongdoing. No casualties were the result of friendly fire, and my review has now been complete.
Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith says he's shocked to learn that no victims were hit by friendly fire, and even questions the accuracy of the review.
It speaks volumes to the training if it's accurate, and I want to emphasize that if it is accurate.
Pulse survivor Orlando Torres says he hopes this report brings closure to the victims' families and there aren't any cover-ups.
It's a relief for the first responders, and I just hope there's no cover-up that will leak out in the future. If that's, I just hope not, because hopefully this will bring a closure, hopefully to the victim's family.
And the state attorney says her investigation reveals officers fired more than 180 shots, none of which hit any of the victims or survivors. Reporting in Orlando, Dylan Lyons, UCF Nightly News.
We are still working to obtain the FBI and FDLE reports to see all of the other facts about the case. We will bring you any new updates as soon as they break.
UCF Victim Services and Green Dot UCF hosted a 1 Billion Rising event yesterday outside the Student Union. 1 Billion Rising is a worldwide event aimed to end sexual violence. Nightly News reporter Chris Tran has more on how UCF is spreading awareness and helping stop sexual violence.
1 Billion Rising is a global movement aimed to end rape and sexual violence against women. The billion refers to the statistic that says 1 billion women will be raped or beaten in her lifetime.
We recognize that violent incidences happen in Orlando and our students are affected by that. And so this event is a really good way to bring awareness to the issue and to let them know that we're here and we care about them.
Survivors of sexual assault gave testimonies during the event. Students, faculty, and staff could sign a pledge that says UCF does not stand for violence on campus. A flash mob of cops and students danced to empower women and victims of sexual violence.
If you see something, to say something, because a lot of people think, like, what can I do? It's not my problem. But really, if everybody does something, we can lower those numbers.
See something, say something is a slogan that's been said for a while in regards to sexual assault. Title IX coordinator Matt Reich says we can do even more than that.
What to say and what we're looking out for so we can see it. And that's part of the purpose of our programming and events on campus.
UCF is holding different workshops throughout the semester to further inform students. Areas like consent, healthy relationships, and how to intervene with an issue are just a few of them. Reporting in Orlando, Chris Tran, UCF Nightly News.
1 Billion Rising is held on Valentine's Day every year. The goal is that everyone together can help end sexual violence worldwide. The weather was feeling pretty cool outside this morning.
Yeah, there was some sun outside too.
Haleigh, what can you tell us about the current conditions right now?
Yes, thank you, Erin and Tanesha. It has been a really nice day so far. Around the state, we're looking at an average high of 73, and right now we're only at 76 degrees. There's a good chance we're going to bump up to 80 at some point in the day, but if we look over here, we can see that we're at 48% humidity, which is pretty low for Florida standards, and we've got winds coming in from the southwest at 6 miles per hour. There's not really any rain on the radar right now, but coming up in just a few minutes, I'll have more of that 5-day forecast. But for now, let's take it back to Erin and Tanesha at the desk.
Thanks, Haleigh. Up next, see who we're highlighting for this week's Black History Month Spotlight.
Plus, find out which UCF professor was awarded a grant to further investigate sexual assaults.
Throughout the month of February, we've highlighted influential African Americans in our community.
Bree, who are we shedding light on this week?
Thanks, Tanesha and Erin. Today's Black History Month spotlights someone who is making strides in forensic science. Dr. Candace Bridge is the first African-American woman to teach chemistry at UCF. UCF honored her with the Luminary Award, an award to highlight faculty making an international impact. She also made UCF's list of College of Science Women Making History. She received the Commander's Award for Civilian Service from the Defense Forensic Science Center. Bridge has presented her work at conferences across the nation and continues to make groundbreaking strides in forensics. Just last month, Dr. Bridge announced that the National Institute of Justice awarded her over $300,000. This grant will be used to make a database to help detectives gather evidence on sexual assault cases. She was able to talk to us about how she plans to soon distribute this database worldwide. Over the last 2 years, UCF forensic scientist Dr. Candace Bridge has been developing a database breaking down the chemical makeup of condoms and lubricants, a database that can help gather evidence for sexual assault cases.
So in the event that they were able to collect lubricants from the crime scene or from the victim, and they have no idea what it is, we can say this may be a flavored lubricant, this may be a natural edible lubricant, to help narrow down the population.
With Dr. Bridges' success, the National Institute of Justice awarded her $354,000 to make a standard database to be replicated worldwide.
And I hope to generate a team of practicing forensic scientists who do lubricant analysis, that they can evaluate our database and make it stronger.
A study by the National Institute of Health says that in sexual assault cases, more than 15% of the suspects use a condom. So Detective Rick Salcido at the UCF Police Department says that he'll be able to use Dr. Bridges' database fairly often.
If we're able to get as much of the puzzle, pieces of the puzzle available to us, then we would be able to solve crimes that way, whether someone's wearing a condom or if they're not wearing a condom. it's definitely something we can use, this database, something we can use.
Dr. Bridge hopes to finish the database by the end of 2020. Reporting in Orlando, Brianna Sorensen, UCF Nightly News. Dr. Bridge is dedicating the next few weeks making a national prototype so that every forensic scientist can use the database in their own personal office. That's all we have for today's Black History Month Spotlight. Back to you, Tanesha and Erin at the desk.
Thank you, Bree. Today, UCF opened the new Lockheed Martin Cyber Innovation Lab. The new lab offers new opportunities for students and the community. The new Lockheed Martin Cyber Innovation Lab is designed to help students get the tools they need to succeed. The lab will also act as a hub and collaboration space for the engineering community. UCF currently is the home to the 3-time national champion cyber defense club called Hack at UCF. The new lab is set to serve as a practice center for the club. David Maria, president of Hack at UCF, spoke about how the lab could benefit him and other students.
So our plans for this lab is, first of all, we have the physical space. So we have a new space to compete and collaborate on our time whenever we want. So this means more workshops, more presentations, bringing out people from Lockheed Martin to teach our members.
While the lab will be a home base for Hack at UCF, all demonstrations are open to the public. The new lab will also be useful for those interested in cyber forensics.
Researchers at UCF now know why the Sunshine State has the fastest growing HIV population in the country. Doctors at the UCF College of Nursing say it's all because of the stigmas associated with HIV. So far, they identified 3 and all relate to the misconception that HIV and people with it are in some way bad. This is something Dr. Christina Cook at the UCF College of Nursing says is not true.
We should not be discriminating against people for any disease. So when I do the analysis and I realize that people are still reporting being discriminated against from providers, so that bothers me.
Cook says the next phase of her research will look into pinpointing exact locations where people are being discriminated against.
Up next, a look into our 5-day forecast.
Plus, find out how this flying insect brings home the honey for the UCF Arboretum.
UCF graduate student is making the video game industry more accessible by building personalized controllers for disabled players. Erin said it all began with a friend who had a disabled hand. The UCF graduate student created a business that manufactures video game controllers for people with disabilities. They don't use joysticks, just buttons.
So I built him one and posted pictures online, and people said, "Oh, this is cool, I want to buy one." So had a little prototyping phase and made some simple controllers for around 3-4 months and started up a company. Soldering and connect each
Some
button
controllers start around $200. Sindan says for now this is just a side hobby, but he may expand in the future.
When we think of bees, we usually think of them as pests, but one faculty member here at UCF sees these buzzing creatures as something different. UCF Arboretum and Natural Landscaping Director Dr. Patrick Boland says honeybees, like the ones at the Arboretum, are extremely helpful. Not only does their honey bring in revenue for the Arboretum, but they're also a hands-on way of teaching students. Dr. Boland, who has only worked with these bees for a few years, says there's no reason to fear them.
They're a lot of fun. If you have a fear of bees, the best thing you could do is come out and participate in a hive inspection and just see how amazing it is to be able to look into the heart of a beehive.
Right now at the Arboretum, there are 5 complete honeybee hives. Each of these hives can hold up to 40 or 50,000 bees, but it'll be closer to spring before we see that many honeymakers. And we're sure to be in for some sweet treats come March.
It's been rainy and gloomy these past few days.
Right. I hope the weather clears up by this weekend. Haleigh, how's it looking for us?
It's been unusually cold the past few days, and that sprinkle of rain here and there was kind of surprising, but we'll get more into that in just a second. If we look at the highs for today across the state, we see Tallahassee is at that average of 73, Jacksonville 76, Tampa 75, Orlando 80, and Miami is at 77. Let's go ahead and skip over to those lows. We see that Tallahassee and Jacksonville are both in the mid-50s. Tampa's at 60, Orlando 59, and Miami 67. If we look at this 5-day forecast, we'll go ahead and see that on Saturday and Sunday it's going to be rather nice outside. 0% chance of rain, so that's going to be different from what we've been seeing this week. As we go into President's Day on Monday, we see a high of 85, a low of 68, and that 20% chance of rain, we shouldn't worry about it too much. And then on Tuesday, 84 and 67, 0% chance of rain again. And then on Wednesday, back up to 20% chance of rain, but a high of 85, low of 66. It really is a pretty nice week we've got lined up. But that's really all I've got for you today. For now, back to Erin and Tanesha at the desk.
Thanks, Haleigh. UCF men's basketball is looking to avenge their biggest loss of the season.
Plus, a big game ahead for the UCF's women's basketball team. See who they must defeat to make history.
Good afternoon, Knights fans. I'm Rachel Dececco, and let's see what's happening with UCF sports this week. After coming off of a big win against interstate rival USF on Wednesday, the Knights are going to face the Memphis Tigers in their second matchup of this season. The Tigers gave UCF their worst loss of the season, beating them by 20. That was 3 weeks ago, and since then the Knights have gone 3-1 last 4 games. Head coach Johnny Dawkins hasn't forgotten that game. Here's what he had to say about Memphis.
They're very talented. You know, they played great. I mean, they played great. I'll never forget that game. They had a lot of guys step up for them, especially off the bench. I remember guys coming in, gave them a good lift as well. And I thought the upperclassmen really set a tone early in the game.
The game is set to start at 6 p.m. on Saturday right here at the CFE Arena. The women's basketball team looks to make history on Sunday. The 4th-ranked UConn Huskies come to town for their second in 2-game season series. In their last meeting, the Huskies handed the Knights their worst loss of the season. Now the Huskies must do something no team has done this season: beat the Knights at the CFE Arena. Coach Abe believes her team can put up a good fight against the dominant Huskies.
I mean, they're doing some phenomenal things. We've never beat South Florida twice. These young women are just really being amazing and just staying home in a 1 game at a time.
A win against UConn would be UCF's first program history and put the Knights in for a tie in first place in the AAC. Tip-off is at 2 p.m. And with that, it looks like it'll be a pretty big weekend for sports. Back to Tanesha and Erin.
Thanks, Rachel. That's our time for right now. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week on our YouTube channel, UCF Nightly News.
And if you've got a story idea you want us to know about, send it our way. You can reach us at nightlynewsucf@gmail.com. Thanks for watching and have a good day.